Yes, good evening and welcome to another edition of the Innervibe Show on s-ence Radio on Sunday, the 19th of May 2013. And joining us this evening, we have my co-host, Angel Heart.
Hello everyone.
How you doing? Okay. How you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Looking forward to this talk this evening.
Mm-hmm. We have Gary Wilson on the show this evening. Gary Wilson is an anatomy and physiology teacher and is interested in the neurochemistry of mating and bonding. He's a co-author of Cupid's Poisoned Arrow, From Habit to Harmony in Sexual Relationships. So very interesting. The topic is going to be about internet porn this evening. Yes, so it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah. Which I only thought we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
And I only thought it happened in America, but.
Okay. Hello.
No, I mean,
in America?
Well, it's like, I just keep thinking it's more of an American habit, than it was a British habit. But, I mean, obviously it happens everywhere and everyone watches it. Mm-hmm. But to the extent, I don't know how deep it was with everyone watching it here. But I'm very well aware how deep it is in the States, And,
but, a guy called Simon, I can't pronounce his second name, I'll endeavour to do my best. Simon Lajeunesse, is PhD. He said, guys who do not watch pornography do not exist. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
That's American statistics, yes.
And I think he's talking about males, as in when he says guys, probably not females. Although I do know that a lot more females are beginning to watch porn because it's readily available, isn't it? Yeah. But in general, women were not really that concerned, especially back in the day when us men were, gathering in houses and watching the film.
Porn like it was, it's a very innocent thing to do. It's the norm thing to do. Part of sexual progression or whatever.
In today's society. I mean, Gary's going to go. I'm hoping he's going to explain to us that the chemical imbalances it causes and the reasons why we get addicted to it and so forth. So, going to go into that. It's a very interesting show this evening.
Yes, that is.
Yes, and a lot of people don't like to admit that they watch porn or are addicted to certain things. I mean, we all do have addictions, and I must add that each and every one of us, we have addictions. I mean,
that's true.
Whether we admit it or not, and it takes courage to admit that you've got an addiction, no matter what that addiction is. You know what I'm saying?
He actually mentions about when you're single or you live by yourself or something, it's like you've got nothing better to do than watch porn, and it becomes quite a problem there. What a boring life that must be. And he's had all these revelations of people who stopped watching it and their life has really changed around. Like they've been able to do sports, make money, work, do hobbies and many other things besides. And I can't believe that it takes so much time off a man's life or a youngster's life. Well, it's like playing games or something.
Well,
it's quite dangerous.
The sperm, when we ejaculate, it's a life force, isn't it? I mean, just imagine what it does. Well, we know what it does. It produces a child. You know what I mean?
It's a kind of energy, and you're just exposing it and losing it, and
losing it willy-nilly.
And weakens the man.
We do live in a hyper-sexualized society, and porn, is one of the reasons why it's hypersexualized. There's many reasons as well. I mean, the TV in general, we can see the crossing over from what was deemed back in the day with the watershed, a non-sexual TV into a more sexual TV, becoming more and more sexual.
It's totally sexual.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know why they got ratings because it is. It's very explicit. I mean, you only have to even look at the BBC News, and straight away there's in between the news on the right hand side you have he had sex with this or straight away and it's not the news what are the statistics and that. I mean, it's continuous onslaught, isn't it? I mean, you can go on the net and you're bound to come across all these adverts.
That's right.
That keep and they keep going like this, so you can't help but accidentally pressing it, and it floods into your PC. It's not fair. I mean, they say this war on porn and that. Where is it? I can only see it increasing.
Well,
how dangerous is that?
They have to say that they're doing something about it, don't they? Do you know what I mean? And in reality, it's these guys at the top who are pushing it out there to the masses. Do you know what I mean? Because they know that sex porn is like sugar. It's like crack. It's like alcohol. You can get addicted to it, and there's so many people addicted to it.
So they'd pay anything. The sex industry makes a massive turnover, don't they?
And that's why in advertising they use sex to sell, isn't it?
So if they but there must be a deeper agenda towards dysfunctional children, because I mean they're introducing porn in schools. Why would you do that if it's going to interfere with your growing up and your hormones and all the rest of it? Why in hell would they do that? And on top of it, I've just heard about the consent age for children in the UK will be 14, which well, I mean they're discussing that at the moment.
That's right.
What a dirty bastard. I mean, no way. This is not good, Oh, I didn't want to be near boys at the age of 14. I'm not being funny, but there's so much going on. What are they trying to do to us and the youngsters and all the rest of it?
Well, the sexual energy is something to be treasured, isn't it? It's sacred. And what the system has done is turned it into something lustful, something. I mean, I imagine people have always lost it. Well, I don't know, to be honest, because I've not been around
women and the men are.
From day one, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really confirm that. But we have become more lustful. Do you know what I'm saying? We've got multiple partners.
And the women.
Men and women.
I mean, it's the women as well. You walk down the street and they'll talk about the boy, you're like, oh my god. I was walking down the side of my street yesterday actually, and there was a group of about 8 or 9 girls, between the ages of 13 and 15. I even asked their ages, because I asked them what they were doing out this late at night. They were all dressed up to the T, in heels, short skirts. There was one girl in particular, she had what we call back in the day pum-pum shorts, or batty riders, and you can see her ass cheek sticking out. She purposely, as I was walking by, leant over the ledge of the what they call a banister, and cocked out her bottom. I'm telling you, she purposely cocked out her bottom. Can believe it.
Unbelievable.
I mean, there's loads of girls like exposing their breast and think that's really cool and showing their body parts and everything. You see that? I mean, this is even without alcohol.
Even
this
without,
is when they're straight,
And it's
about,
a serious problem.
And talk about all this porn activity. We're talking about the men quite a bit here, but the women. I know loads of gay women, and I know that they watch porn like it's going out of fashion.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not gay myself, but I have a lot of friends, and they do date around, but they will say that the women have porn stacked up here in the house. So what's it doing to the girls? That's what I want to know.
But it's I'm not saying it's better for women to be more sexual, because it's not. But as us men, the more we ejaculate, the more life force energy we're losing. All that zinc, that protein, you know what I mean, which we need to give us that creative energy.
Because it weakens
It weakens us, it weakens us. And we're going to be talking to Gary in a moment, bringing him in and asking him his thoughts on the whole sex.
The whole subject, because he knows it well.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break and then come back and...
Yes.
Hello, Gary.
Oh heaven, How could I forget you? Rose to the occasion, one day plucking petals. Stole something precious, should have been the way I left you. But no matter what's changed, sustain, be the best you. The rest grew restless as cousins sleep. Wanted peace, but the search wasn't deep. I invested my week to see a brighter Monday morn, but woke up on Tuesday in the same uniform. And through it all, try not to do you wrong, as I have in the past. Rapping other love songs, but it's kinda hard building lust when your trust gone. Money was the object of effect, they ain't want John. Should've gone with my first love. Maybe moved out to Vigo and wrote books in cursive. Learned a little French and do the film I've been trying to make, and translate the feeling I was feeling in my modern day. Took a break with the whiz, gave the rhymes a break. Busted hard enough to make the break. No seeds, no sticks, no stems. Old gems found crumbled by the bubble goose and Thames. I can hear the hymns in the choir from the pews where mom sat listening to Sunday's blues and the scuffed penny loaves that I stuffed a nickel into. All white Easter suit that won't fit you. Sent through heaven to hell to sell dreams of places once dwelled, but I fell for the green stuff. Swore I could fly back and say hi again, but my money was no good. I needed time to spend. Brought me back to my youth when I was grinding with no loot. Book full of rhymes with the gold tooth, with the scripture engraved, or a picture of the days when I dreamt to be a richer. Liquor pours from the picture to the glass house, built for liquors to remember the soul that once remembered and gone. Gotta find it in her, and we happily concur. Ever after one blur, merry match in one word, love. Found crumbled in notebooks you never saw, but little thoughts and yada yada. Dramatized mind, traumatized by falling off in the water, which is salted in the ground level. Found holding souls of daisy without petals. How special, all heaven, how could I forget you?
Love, my love.
A dedication to the muses.
Heaven above, all it once was. Stars lost and found us. Time goes by.
Yeah.
Smiles that
Dedication to the muses.
Love, my love. Heaven above, all it once was. Smiles, kisses, and hugs.
Dedication to the muses.
This is that drug.
To the
Love, my love.
music. Yeah. Music. Sent from the heavens. Yeah. Just gonna let it roll out on this. Somewhere there's heaven.
Cause I need you. Oh, why that is, I do not know. How it scares me. Oh, cry as I may, and I want to stay away. Makes no sense to me. And you could look at it this way. Cause this is a strange way, and it's amazing. Cause I am gazing. Ooh, cause I want you, I need you. 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 Cause I want you, I need you. I want you, I need you. I want you, I need you. Am I too weak? Does it show? Take it nice and slow. This is a mystery to me. It's like mystified. Oh, what a surprise. How great thou art. You could look at it this way. This is a strange way. There's amazing. We are gazing, yeah. Ooh, 'cause I want you, I need you, 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 'cause I want you, I need you, I want you, I need you, I want you, I need you.
Hi and welcome back to the Innervibe Show on s-ence Radio. We're going to be calling Gary in now. Let's hope he's there. Yes. Hello, Gary.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, how are you doing? Fine, thank you very much.
Hello, Gary.
Good.
Hi. Welcome to the Innervibe Show on s-ence Radio. My co-host, Angel Hart.
Hello, Gary.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing then, Gary? How's it going in America?
It's going just fine. It's a beautiful day. We got some sun, and I'm just sitting here chatting with you.
Brilliant, brilliant. But it's been a nice day here as well. I mean, we haven't had much nice days in the past week or so, but it's, you know, it's improved today nicely.
Yes, plenty of rain we've been having over here, but today's been a really nice day. And we have Gary on the show, and I'm looking forward to this chat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
Good.
interested in your research and what you have to tell us.
Mm. If you'd like to tell us a bit, tell the audience firstly, a bit about yourself, please, Gary.
Well, let's see. I mean, the main thing to tell is that I'm the host of a website called yourbrainonporn.com, and it's really about the science behind some of the effects that many guys are experiencing using high-speed internet porn. So that's the first thing. I'm also an anatomy and physiology teacher. And I got into this about 6 years ago, and I wanted nothing to do with this. I'm not religious. I don't care about porn, and I didn't have any thoughts on it. But about 6 years ago, my wife, who has a website completely unrelated to porn, it's about relationships and the science of sex. And on that site, there were many articles written that had the words orgasm, sex, addiction in them. And interesting enough, Google put that all together, and guys with porn addictions started showing up and posting in her forum. And Google put those together, and more started showing up until her forum, after about a year, was completely overloaded with all these guys with problems associated with excess porn use, such as sexual dysfunctions or anxiety. And what eventually happened was, after her whole website got taken over, I decided to create a whole new website that would put all the information in one place and write a few articles about it. And that's what I did to help these guys, because there's a big gap between what they've been hearing about the effects of porn through the media or through experts and what is actually happening to them. Because, you know, there's a big new variable in the equation, and that's high-speed internet, completely free porn. So that's the short story.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that a lot of young men were coming on the site mentioning they're having problems. I mean, if you'd like to give people an idea of which sort of men firstly came into admitting basically that they were having a problem with this.
Yeah, the first groups of men were actually those probably in their late 20s to 50s, and the primary motivation for them wanting to quit was that they were having sexual problems, either erectile dysfunction, delayed ejaculation, loss of attraction to real partners, and some of them just recognized that they're addicted and they were binging all the time. So that was the first group, but in the last 2 to 3 years since I put up yourbrainonporn.com, the demographics have shifted considerably so that the primary groups are late teens and 20s. And some of them, yes, have sexual problems, but a lot of them are wanting to give it up because they believe that it's causing problems because they're starting to read about stories where guys' confidence goes up when they give it up, their concentration goes up, motivation goes up. So many other symptoms you would not relate to excess porn use appear to be occurring, especially when guys start young, which many of them are now, 13, 14 or younger.
That's right.
So to sum up, a lot of the guys, nearly all of them are not giving it up for religious or moral reasons. They're giving up because they hit the wall of having erectile dysfunction, or they're perceiving that it's causing them problems where they can't really get themselves out to chase real women, or it's affecting their studies, or so it's really a fast-moving target in line with the technology.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, because there has been a increase in the exposure to porn for both men and women in the most recent years. I mean, of course, because of the internet primarily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've read somewhere that 9 out of 10 boys were exposed to pornography before the age of 18. And I know that when I was growing up, when say around 15, I guess, and this was back in the late 80s, so you could be guessing my age. We were exposed to porn, but not via the internet. People were
VHS.
Yeah.
VHS
having VHS tapes, and we would go around to friends' houses and sitting down and watching this material. So how things have changed since then.
Well, if you think about it, let's go back to my early years. I'm 57, so I'm a geezer.
Okay.
And all I had was pictures, an occasional nude picture.
Mm-hmm.
So all I could use was my imagination.
Yeah.
And porn never, ever was as good as my imagination thinking about real girls.
Yeah.
Then you start moving into your generation where you could maybe get access to VHS tapes, but again, you have to be an adult to go rent those.
Yeah.
And you could watch one movie, but you go through like the pizza delivery guy, and then you'd have a sex scene, then you have something else, and you didn't control how you can control the stimulation now. So here we are on the internet, and we have what are called tube sites. And tube sites, you have little 3-minute videos of the hardest of the hardcore, and the guys open up their browser and they put in 10 tabs and they click from video to video to video of high definition hardcore, and they can just keep the stimulation ratcheted up for as long as they want to. And of course now it's in private. So they can, when they get home from school, they can turn on the computer, they can take their laptop to their bedroom, and they can just keep going for hours on end, just training their brain to need not only this type of stimulation, which is hardcore, but also the ability to click and click and click and keep the stimulation at levels that we just couldn't before high-speed internet.
Yeah.
So it's quite different now.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that we need to understand is both different in content, more violent, crazy fetishes, watching stuff you don't even want to think about, and the delivery method, which is not only high speed, but now the kids have smartphones.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
they're watching at school during recess.
Yeah.
So it's really quite different.
Yeah. And a lot of these children are hiding their behaviour, what they do on the phone from their parents.
Yeah.
Well, they're much smarter than their parents in that they understand technology and they can get around their parents anytime.
Yeah. Wow. And also there's, again, I was reading that there's a lot of unintentional exposure to porn. I know that I see when I click onto YouTube or when I'm wanting to watch a film online or watch sport online, you will automatically get a pop-up of a sexual nature. Not all the time, but
most of the time now.
You will get it will either be a sexually explicit picture or even a clip of a movie.
Or the dating, they use the dating sites, don't they, a lot now, and it always has like a woman with just a bra, and you know, and it's just horrendous. What they're trying to suggest and where they're trying to take you, you know, all these young minds. Yeah,
I mean the consensus is that softcore porn from the 70s is now just mainstream TV.
Yeah.
And now hardcore is stuff we can't even imagine that really has nothing to do with sex. So what you're saying is the regular media and commercials that we're exposed to are quite explicit compared to just 10, 20 years ago. And then there's the sexualization of young people too.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. Which I was saying to Angel Heart at the top of the show. I mean, I often walk through town because I live in the city centre anyway, and I see so much images of young girls in particular. And last night was no exception. As I was walking down my street, and there was about six to eight young girls between the ages of 13 and 15 at 10 p.m. at night. It was dark, and apparently are going out or have gone out and dressed up, high heels, short skirts. There was one girl in particular who had what we used to call batty riders or bum shorts, and she looked like the youngest out of the lot. And you could see her butt cheeks. No, I wasn't looking, but I mean,
but you couldn't have. It's hard
not to.
Yeah, because it's just that.
Yeah, and she purposely, as I was walking by, she purposely cocked out her bottom, as I said, and leant over in a sexual way.
Yeah.
As if she was giving me a sexual come on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Or a tease or whatever, but using her body to confuse you, basically, Yeah.
And this is the problem that our children face, but yet parents don't seem to be able to figure it out for some odd, strange reason. I mean, you look at the TV. I mean, as you said yourself, Gary, it's mainstream TV has become soft core porn. Rihanna, for example, Nicki Minaj, X Factor, Britain and Americans Got Talent. You see it on these shows. So I mean, how do we get across to the parents that this is becoming a major problem, and your children won't tell you things about what they are doing with their peers?
Yeah, I think this is a huge subject, and the first thing I would break it down into is porn. Is there's a huge gap, because I talk to some of the older generation, 45, 50, and they don't understand the difference between number one, what kids are exposed to on the internet. They still are thinking, oh, it's just looking at naked women or whatever.
Yeah.
So they understand that it's hardcore videos with triple penetration and all this crazy stuff. And they also don't understand another huge factor is how the adolescent brain is not an adult brain with less experience. And what I'm saying is the adolescent brain's primary purpose, and this is the same for all animals, it's completely different, and its purpose is to wire in everything sexual so that it can successfully reproduce. And it gets a bigger reward, a bigger buzz for sexuality and novelty than does an adult. And it also, here's the second part, the adolescent brain grows about 100 billion new nerve connections, and they're there to learn. That's why it's easier to learn when you're 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
But they're really to learn about your environment and your environment so that you can reproduce. So if you look at a rat or a monkey or a dog or anything, they have this same thing where you have an explosion of new nerve connections. And these nerve connections are to wire up and connect everything so you can learn, because learning happens in nerve connections. And then you get rid of all the other nerve connections, or most of them, that aren't used. So if you spend your time learning about sex by watching porn every day, those are the nerve connections that are saved and become very strong. So this is how you understand sexuality. And this is the part that's missing in the conversation, is how the adolescent brain is different.
So what you're saying basically is that young people's brains are more susceptible to certain imagery, and they are more likely to reproduce a certain behavior. Because
I would go with the first part. I'm not sure what happens with the second part. So let's say, so they can make stronger memories, they learn about sex, and yes, I think it can transfer to behavior. And I don't know if it transfers to violent behavior, because that's very controversial.
Yeah. And
there's not good studies, but they want to play out porn scripts in real life. And they often say, the guys, because this is what I learned from the guys talking, they often need that same type of porn scenario to get excited. So they're requesting it from the girls. And we're seeing a lot more anal sex, which can be damaging to the anus.
Yeah.
And we're seeing requests for things that I don't even want to talk about, but just.
Is there a difference between like your research with straight males and gay males? Is there any difference there? Because I know in the gay community, like I know that the women that I know, they watch a lot of porn, and I know for a fact that the boys do as well. In the gay community, a lot of them do. So, what is there a difference between the two? Is there any difference?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't think so, because we have many gay people who show up with the same sexual problems as the straight. So maybe maybe it's more widespread. So they show up with erectile dysfunction, loss of attraction to real mate, fetishes. They have fetishes, and here's what often happens to both, not often, I don't know how often, but happens with both gay and straight people, is they'll escalate through the type of porn they use. So let's say a straight person starts off at age 13 with lesbian porn or just regular sex, and then they'll go into multiple penetration, they'll go into violent rape, they'll go into transsexual porn, and they'll end up being hooked on transsexual porn or gay porn, because it's the only thing that gets them off. It's like escalating with drug use. They need more and more stimulation. And in order to get that stimulation, they go into more shocking material to get aroused. This also happens with gay people, and they complain of it, where they'll escalate into straight material, or lesbians will escalate into straight violent porn. And now that's the only thing that gets them excited. This is really an addictive process. So I think the same thing occurs in all communities, gay, straight, lesbian, whatever.
I understand. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
It's shocking. If you haven't been exposed to it, I was shocking for me. You say, oh no, people, they're just exploring transsexual porn or gay porn because that's who they really are. No, they're not. And how do we know they're not? It's because once they give it up, these fetishes go away. Now, they don't go away overnight. It's almost a reversal of taste. Like, let's say a guy's addicted to transsexual porn. And then he gives it up, and all of a sudden, well, now he likes lesbian porn, and then that reverses, and finally he likes, or thinks about, he likes just regular sex. So this occurs over a month where they reverse to the taste they had originally prior to starting internet porn. So that wouldn't happen if it was really their true nature. They wouldn't reverse once they gave up.
Okay. So whether heterosexual couples or homosexual couples or whatever, does porn contribute to promiscuity?
You know, in a few studies on adolescents, and one came out about 3 weeks ago, it said it contributed a slight bit to promiscuity. However, I'm going to tell you probably what is really going on. I think you're going to have two ends of the spectrum. I think it might contribute, I don't know, to acting out, maybe more promiscuous in some people, but we also see a large group of young men where it does the opposite. Right. It makes them socially anxious or contributes to that, less likely to pursue real females. Some of them have sexual problems with real females, or it's just easier to go home and search the internet for anything you want. And that would replace real interactions. So what we're seeing a lot, at least because these are the guys complaining, is that using internet porn is replacing real sex, real interaction, or real dating with some of these guys. So I think that's why it's very hard in a study to get at what internet porn is causing, because you'll have both ends of the spectrum, those that will try to act it out in real life, those that don't, it doesn't affect them either way, and those that it inhibits sexuality. So it can really mess up a study.
Right. I know that the Kinsey Institute in, I think it's in America, isn't it?
Yes, Indiana.
PBS, was it? Yeah. They gave like 5 top reasons why people use porn. And the first one was to masturbate for physical release. The second one was for sexual arousal. Third, curiosity. Fourth, because I can fantasize about things which I couldn't necessarily do in real life. And number 5 was for distraction.
For what?
Distraction. To be distracted.
Oh, distraction. Okay.
Yeah. And that was number 5.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And but I just want to point out that whenever that study was done, it was done on adults. Right. And so what now we're seeing is, yes, it's absolutely used for masturbation, but with the young people, it's used almost primarily for masturbation. So what I'm saying is they're using it, being porn, rather than their imagination. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at, because it really is replacing your urges and desires for a real partner.
Right.
But yeah, that seems like a decent list.
I mean, that's interesting what you've just said. I've just picked up on about using the imagination and watching imagery of two people making it out.
Yeah, if you think about it, if you start at age 13 and nearly every single masturbation session you do is watching a video, not pictures, but actually watching people doing it, what does that do to you? Well, first of all, it trains you to be separate from this sexual experience whenever you do it later in life. So let's say you start at 13, but your first sexual experience is 17. So you spent 4 or 5 years observing, being a voyeur, being detached, needing a level of visual stimulation that you can't have in a real sex act. And it's training you to need to watch lots of different people naked, and then when you get bored with that video, 2 minutes later, you have to click to the next one. So you can't take a computer and a mouse into the bedroom with you, so it doesn't match your reality. And we hear guys say over and over again, real sex feels alien. I don't get excited. It's so disappointing.
They don't climax, there's something missing there, and some kind of stimulation that they were getting from porn visually is not happening physically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, and so some of them, it just doesn't match how they train their brain. So their brain is trained to sit and watch and be entertained. They don't even have imagination anymore. So that's gone. In fact, one of the questions we often have to answer is they'll ask, well, how can you masturbate without porn? How is that possible? So that tells you a lot.
Yeah. And how do you feel about, I think, is it in Europe that they're trying to introduce porn to our children in the UK, at a very young age, to be aware of porn and what the word means and so forth. And they want to actually bring this to our schools and teach our children. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, we know what we think about it, but what do you think about it?
Well, interesting enough, now we blog for a place called Psychology Today, and we have for about 3 years. That's where we got all the traffic from all these guys having problems coming to see us. And my wife just put up a blog post about that 2 days ago, writing about that. And here's the deal. There's a couple of things. First of all, you have to go with age appropriate. And we've heard them discussing doing it in first grade or second grade, and I don't think that's age appropriate. But here's the big problem, is they want to talk about it, which they should, but all we saw was them, you need to educate kids about how there's good porn and there's bad porn. In other words, there's a buzzword starting to be used called porn literacy. Right. And that's just crap. Because how can you define what's good porn or bad porn?
Exactly.
You're training your brain to watch something. It's not interacting with a real person. It's replacing it. So we have guys who are just watching image after image of women in bikini. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but this person has to go through 1,000 images in one masturbation session in order to get off. So, is that bad? Can you say a bikini is bad? No, but it's training the brain. So that's the first problem. The second problem is they're not addressing that it can be a problem. They're not addressing that internet porn is unlike anything we've ever encountered. In fact, it's a supernormal stimulus. That means a stimulus that we're really attracted to, a natural sexual stimulus, but it's way beyond anything we've ever encountered. So it has the ability to hijack our reward mechanism. Same thing's occurring with junk food now, with about 35% of UK and American adults overweight, because we never had all this high fat, high sugar, high salt stuff before. You don't see obese hunter-gatherers out on the savannah. So it's something we've never encountered. So they really need to teach the kids about the reward mechanisms in the brain and how they can be overridden or hijacked. And that's not going to be part of the curriculum, I can guarantee
that,
No, because that's not their objective, is it? And I actually think if that subject needs to be approached, it should be your own parents, surely. And I don't know, and I find it a bit strange that they have to push that subject onto the children. You know, we have sexual education and so forth, and but to have a total subject to do with pornography, I just think it's wrong. Just the name, you know, you can gradually and find out what pornography is through your mates and all the rest of it, and you know, but to actually be forced with that word and all the rest of it when your mind is so innocent and acceptable to suggestions and this and the other. It's such a vulnerable age, and I'm dead against it, especially here in the UK, of anything. You know, this kind of subject should be approached by your parents. If there's, you know, most parents are sensible. I don't believe with what the statistics are with unsensible parents that the BBC are always telling us, you know, because our government really want to take control of our children, and they have, because we've let them. We've let them being injected, you know, and all kinds of things. But yeah, I don't know. I like the whole idea. I'm quite terrified because of my nieces and nephews, you know, and I'm thinking, oh no, you know, this subject's going to come up, and how do you tell the parents that, you know, I don't agree with this?
Yeah.
You know, and they should actually stand up for themselves and be heard as parents, because the state have taken control of your children.
Well, the state and the media has taken control of the parents as well.
Yeah, and the media, yes, definitely.
So the parents are unaware of all of this. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's a lazy attitude now, because it's 2013. This is not a new subject, and this research that Gary's been doing, I've heard about it, more than 10 years ago, that people have been talking about the effects of pornography and so forth, and you've heard Gary say that, you know, people are talking about it more so now, you know, because they are being dysfunctional. I've actually met people as well who are, wrong behaviours now, because they've been doing it for too long, and because they've been single, you know, in this particular, people that I know, being single, watching it, and, you know, but it has absolutely destroyed them, you know, apart from other things going wrong in their life, being singular, but then, you know, using porn to sort of fill that void has totally messed them up, and I have seen that myself, so, yeah, you know, what can we do here, Gary? I mean, you know, how can... How can we go forward from here to I don't know, to let parents be aware, let children or young adults be aware, you know, of all of this and the effects, you know.
This is a very complex question, because you're talking about the people who want to teach about porn in the schools. Now, I think it's appropriate as they get into 5th and 6th grade to teach them. But the people who are teaching them generally have an agenda, and the agenda is that there's nothing wrong with porn. Yeah. If you ask them personally, it'd be okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's a problem. But, you know, what we see with the young men, as young as 12 and 13, they're very interested. Guys like to know how things work. And when you teach them about their brain and how it can become overstimulated, and you teach it in a non-judgmental way, just say, you know, this can happen. Sure, it may not change anything, but that needs to be part of the curriculum. And so the negative effects that do occur, and we see again and again with young guys that can occur, need to be taught, and that will not be part of the curriculum. So that's the first part, is you need to understand not morally the negative effects, but the negative effects on your concentration, maybe your motivation, on your attitudes, on your sexual functioning. They really need to understand the adolescent brain. They need to understand what a superstimulus is, and they need to understand how the reward circuits of the brain work. And everyone needs to do that. Yeah. But there's a huge political agenda by the people doing the academic sex research to come up with studies and results that show that internet porn is rarely a problem for anyone, and to suggest otherwise is just creating a moral panic. So that's what we're really up against quite a bit. And I just want to mention, I'm not religious, and I'm a libertarian, and I'm very liberal, but I think you need to have an education that is more inclusive and looking for just trying to get into what's good porn and bad porn, is not really beneficial.
Yeah. There needs to be a balance, which is it seems to be non-existent nowadays. But Gary, I'd like to go if you'd like to go further into the adolescent brain and the reward part of the brain, because I believe the reward part of the brain is the limbic system. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. So the limbic system is actually intertwined with the reward part, and we call the reward part the reward circuit. It's lots of little deep parts of the brain, very small, but it's pretty much the same in all mammals, and it's been around for hundreds of millions of, couple 100 million years evolutionarily, and it runs on dopamine. Dopamine is what motivates you to do anything, whether it's sex or drugs or eating or exercise. It just motivates you throughout the day. It's just a normal thing. Dopamine's released and activates the reward circuit. Mm-hmm. But the thing of what occurs with adolescents is they produce far more dopamine than do adults or children. So everything's more exciting. And they also produce more dopamine or more excitement for novelty, sexual stimuli, and anything that's new. So they want to explore and they want to learn all about sex. So they produce a lot more. At the same time they produce a lot more of dopamine, they produce a lot more of another chemical in the brain called delta phos-B. Now don't get hung up on the name of the chemical, but the point of all this is more dopamine and more delta phos-B, both of those lead to, if you have high dopamine all the time, and then you produce more and more delta phos-B because of high dopamine, that's what leads to brain changes associated with addiction. So to sum up, adolescents have higher brain chemicals that when are activated and stay high, lead to the brain changes caused by addiction. That's why they're more vulnerable to addiction. They're also more vulnerable because these same chemicals really reinforce and make memories and wire the brain. They're also more vulnerable to wiring in behaviors that stay with them. You can think back to adolescence, and that's when you had your favorite songs, that's when you have your most vivid memories, and that's when a lot of your personality was shaped. And so that's what they need to understand. And what occurs during that same time is, I mentioned, you have all those brain connections, those 100 billion new brain connections, but they're pruned. They're actually gotten rid of. So it's hard to reverse and change these brain changes and ways of coping and ways of dealing with life, because you've trimmed these connections and now they're pretty set. They're pretty concrete. So that's something that really needs to be out there.
It's not going to be an easy task, because and not only internet porn, but you've got things which will lead people, kids especially, into internet porn. As we talked about earlier, in mainstream media, the music artist, I remember Rihanna doing a video, and the song was called S-ence. Now, we all know what S&M is. I can never pronounce it properly though.
Right.
Sado.
Smarties.
Okay.
Sado
back in.
I don't know, how do you say
That's the one.
Yeah,
Sadomasochism.
Sadomasochism.
Okay.
It's a mouthful, that is.
It is a mouthful, isn't it?
It's painful to even say it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And Rihanna, I don't know if you know much about Rihanna, Gary, but
yes.
Initiate
and Lady Gaga as well. Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Beyonce, the onslaught of it all.
Album where she was initiated was Good Girl Gone Bad.
Oh right, yes.
You know what I mean?
Right,
so previously she was a good girl, now she's becoming a bad girl and making songs like S&M.
Right. and then we have like footballers in the UK, and they have bad behaviour with their sexual habits, how they treat women and girls, and then we have the women that follow the footballers. They're called wags, and they're quite sexually explicit, and and their behaviour is very boyish as well. Where the men actually dress feminine, quite feminine, really. The women are like the lads, and the lads are like the women, in their behaviour in ways as well, yeah. But I mean, this all leads to it can lead to watching pornography.
Yeah, because they're watching it on the TV, and then they go on the internet. They're looking for the same artist like Rihanna on YouTube and Facebook, and what comes up at the side is
Well, actually, when you watch films or you watch anything, in that film you will see them mentioning porn, watching porn, even if they were 13, 14. I was mentioning a series where there's a 14-year-old child and they're about to be busted by the FBI, well, the father was, and the girl runs into the room and she goes to the little lad, hide all your porn. I mean, so media has...
What was this?
This was, can I mention the name? It's Sopranos. Yeah.
It
was in Sopranos, and the child was only about 13, 14, and I was like, what? He's got, you know what I mean? But I mean, just watching all of this within everything you watch anyway, within the films and that, and because they always talk about it and things, it's putting ideas in your heads when you're young, but it's a lot of blame is to do with the TV, the media, the filming, and they're absolutely drenched in it when you think about it. I mean, they're making money, aren't they? I mean, these people who make the porn and these porn sites, they must be making dough,
But what's we know, and I think one of the problems is, Gary, is that adults don't really want to know, because there's this relationship with the children today where we don't want to upset them. We don't want to get on their wrong side. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. This is a problem, because the fact that we don't want to get on the wrong side of our children leads us not into doing more research, and so we are able to teach our children what the realities are. And many, and as you said earlier, again, it's about time. Some people genuinely don't have the time. However, I have to disagree, because a lot of people do come home, sit in front of the idiot box, and consume themselves with all the garbage on the TV. And it's at that time they can go on the likes of Your Brain on porn. Do you know what I mean? And do their own research, because there's plenty of research material on Gary's website also.
Right, yes. Yeah.
You mentioned, I mean, you said that evolution has not prepared our brain for internet porn. I was laughing at that statement. Gary?
Have we lost Gary?
We've lost him.
Oh, we've lost Gary, everyone.
It's still there. No. What, frozen?
Yeah. I think we've crashed, everyone.
I think, yeah, we've crashed.
We've lost Gary and we've crashed. And we've had enough of talking about...
Oh dear.
But, yeah, I mean, the onslaught. Are we still on? Are we still on our radio show here?
Yeah, we're still on, yeah. But Gary's gone.
But
I think we're talking so much that...
yeah, I mean... yeah. We've lost our Gary. Get back here.
Wow. Okay, we'll continue on.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying that, when we were young and watching all these American films and all the rest of it, I mean, they were continuously highly sexed up, shows or series or TV programs, all these American ones, and they were always talking about watching, what do you see, magazines. It would be magazines like, if you watch Lampoon's Holiday, then, I don't know, that there's a comedy thing, I can't remember what the full name of that is.
National Lampoon's.
Yeah, National Lampoon's Holiday. Yeah. Well, anyway, on one of their trips, the girl, the boy, one of their cousins got a whole magazine, whole boxes full of porn, so that there's an agenda behind this, what I feel like a black ops thing, I can only see like a bunch of Nazi scientists and see what, how they can fuck us over, and they're doing it very successfully, because it's so addictive, this porn stuff, and how easy it is. At the moment you don't even have to pay, because like you say, you can just keep clicking because it's free, but you're getting all the aggressive bits, not the feeling and the touching and the building, and it's just straight sex, isn't it? So, well, not even straight, is it? I mean, it's using everything from balloon handles. Any influences, right there.
It's quite curvy in some places.
Plunger. Sorry, okay. But I mean, all I can not think of, but it's quite stressful being exposed to it, especially as a child, even through the Walt Disney's and I don't know, all these programs that I used to watch, and they couldn't help but mention magazines or this, that, and the other, and media glorifies the porn industry. I mean, look at the Indian porn lady. Have you heard about this?
No.
There's a woman, and she's Indian, I can't remember her name, she's an actress, well, she's not an actress, she's Canadian something or other, and she's a porn queen. She's an Indian woman, and she's crossed over to Bollywood, and they're making a big deal about it. I mean, everyone, all the media, she's something great, she's going to be an Indian actress. Now, when have we had a porn girl as an actress in the Indian film industry? Wow. I've never seen it, but this is what they're doing. This is the BBC, this is the media, this is collectively, it's one entity that's fucking us all over, basically, Wow. But all I can say is, like, they're hyping her up more than I think the people are. I'm sure there's an outrage that she can't cross over to Bollywood and be an actress, even though Bollywood can be classed as soft porn if you want. Do you know? But she's quite hardcore though. Yeah. But I mean, it's just like I know. What can you say? Glorifying in her, and then it will glorify pornography, and the market can cross over and make loads of money, and the onslaught is ongoing all the time on their advertising front.
They do.
But there is a big agenda to this, and it is messing us up, and it's they always have an agenda. You can't you can't see or do it. Whatever they give you, it always has an agenda. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. And we have to be aware of it. That it's important that we become aware of it, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's quite a taboo subject, isn't it? It's like
people don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, people don't want to talk about it. I mean, parents don't. They've got the paedophilia and all these other subjects that parents are confronting now. But when you talk about porn, I've never heard of it. I mean, in the Asian community, it's very secret. It's like certain people talk about it, and within your friends or whatever. Personally, I don't know anyone when I was younger that was watching it, but
no, I did.
obviously, like you said, I'm very aware that it's become a problem, I think, and I've known people to suffer from it, and there are after effects because they're not functioning properly, having bad relationships, feeling that void with hardcore porn or whatever. It might have been soft, but then it becomes, and that it's quite funny how quick it must become addictive. And then the damage is done. I wonder how long the time scale is in between all that. But I've seen the effects. Yes. And the effects for women and men, I suppose.
Yeah, most definitely. We're going to try and call him back in a second, once this loads up. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties yet again. We'll go to a quick break, shall we?
Shall we? Yes, let's play some
go
music.
To a quick break, and then we can come back and bring Gary in.
Find where he has disappeared to.
How's it affecting you on the inside?
When I tell you goodbye.
Three cities.
check me out. I throw my heart on my shoulder. What you see, what you get. Eyes glance at the direction, intricate dialect. Salt pouring from my face, even suns hang low. Before it's set, like me, it's a mirror of my soul. My knees shake from the fact I'm a trillion years old. I saw the first in the middle, one thing left to know. Can you see it in my face? Can you see it as a whole? I can see it when I look at ya. Everything's wrong. Got holograms around, can't even keep a plan. Moving slow, must be stuck in a jungle quicksand. Get money, took land, what you see? Goddamn, God so loved the world, he gave a begotten rap. Break it down, what you see? Look at you, look at me. When you see me, I'm looking back. That's relativity, relative to me. So you, how's it gonna be? Forget the layers to that self, that mission to be free. There's so much to see, there's so much to be. That second, that cheap power, my destiny. It's a God I will be, a saw it, that's me. Look through the shell, come take a peek, my light beams. When you see me, what you thinking when you looking at me? You know, I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
Yo, when you see me through the looking glass of future, present, past tense, caught up in the sands as the clock ticks backwards. Am I the savage or the master of theatrics? Broad nose shot off, callous on a black fist. See me on another level, nameless, shapeless, ancient. Predates the language of the saint script. Cruising on a spaceship, caged in a slave ship. Stressing in the now on the Facebook pages. I may get your tunnel vision so tainted it's dangerous. So do you see me in the terms of the famous and the ancient shits? Pharaoh status or a merchant serving fragrance? Cause either way, the iris of silence remains patient when facing a nation indoctrinating continuations of fakeness upon your playlist. Replace the basic with the sacred. So when I ask you what you see, you stop saying the same
I
shit.
think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
What do you see when you see me? Do you see someone who seems to be living freely? Who can see his dreams retrieved without being greedy and needing some sort of scheme conceived, a plot for receiving any props that I'm seeing? Or do you hate and take shots for no reason? Since I'm doing well, you're seeming like you're not, there's no meaning. Are you seeing me as an equal being, that we're both human? Or are you choosing to look down on me cause you're doing better financially, because you have a better job? You're bitter because you haven't ever had a clever thought. When you see me, it's seeming like you have never stopped to think before you talk, so maybe you better not. I think we'll be better off without you judging me. I can chill comfortably without your company, without a fucking thing. So when you see me, please save the drama for the magazines and TV screens.
I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie? I think the fact of the matter that no one could know what presumption someone has when you see me. Do they hate or wanna be me? Wanna free me or a freebie?
Hi, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. We're gonna try again. Really apologise for this. This seems to be happening quite a lot, doesn't it?
It has been with Skype.
Yeah. Let's bring him in again.
Suggest that, if your relationship break down, you're not not functioning, then why don't you watch porn? Well, I mean, not me personally, but I've heard people say that though.
People do,
I don't know whether it's been in a film or something.
As a replacement, we can't get Gary at the moment, sorry.
Right.
But you was mentioning in the break about Saudi, was it Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, Saudi Arabia, where this Western reporter went in and they opened the doors to us, and obviously it was all controlled. But this Western mentioned that they all are on the internet and they've got every gadget going, and there's all kinds of things that they can get hold of, and that includes porn on the net. And this is Saudi Arabia. So, you know, what's going on? You know, I don't know. But obviously they cannot stop it, and they must be welcoming it as well, because I think there's always an agenda with everyone that runs every country, you know, against us basically, and we're the fools to fall for it. So
porn is a multi-billion-dollar
yeah, they're not going to let go of it. So who are the big people behind it? There's always something going on that we've missed, basically, you know.
Follow the money trail, isn't it?
Person. It goes in very deep, and then it goes into many other areas, you know, and it leads to pure darkness.
As I said, follow the money trail, and where does it lead back to? Right to the top of the bankers.
Yeah. It doesn't actually, the money, you know. And where does it all come from? Who's pumping it in? You know, when they're saying they're continuously trying to fight all this kind of stuff on the net, well, I can't see them doing it. I can only see it getting worse, you know, or it has been getting worse. About every click and all the exposure and these dating sites and things like that. And
I mean, when you do look at these dating sites, you see
all these pictures of half-dressed clothing going on.
Well, yeah, and
you think it is
the way that a lot of these girls and women are posing as if they're in FHM, Fiesta, Escort, all these magazines.
You know, runner, you know, just the bra and the knickers, you know,
they really
come on,
are.
date me, you know. But who's running all these sites?
There's a certain body language, a sexual body language as well, which a lot of even the average person has adopted. You know what I mean? Which is.
I have a feeling all these sites are all connected anyway. Like it's one big entity split into many, where you think they might be all different, but they're all related really. And there's one source. Where's the source coming from?
Whilst we talk, we're gonna try Gary again.
Right, let's try Gary.
Yeah.
It's a shame if we don't get to talk to Gary Wilson.
I don't think that we put the phone down on it.
No, I don't think so. I wonder if he's watching us on the site. Maybe it's been cut. No, we have been totally cut. Cut off.
Yes, well. Here it is.
Is that someone ringing you?
Gary. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how you doing?
Apologies for that. The PC crashed.
Oh, okay. I wonder what happened.
Modern technology, eh?
Yeah.
Think about the VHS.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we before we got cut off? We were yabbling on, actually.
Yeah, we were just rabbling on.
Yeah.
But yes, the exposure.
Yeah, I know we was talking about the reward system, the limbic system, and
right,
so forth.
that's where we are.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So the amygdala, that is a part of the brain. Well, it's a part which is in the actual limbic system. Is that correct? Yes.
That is correct. It's a major part of the limbic system.
Yep. Is that the part where the addictions come to the fore, so to speak?
Well, addictions involve changes in multiple parts of the limbic system, excuse me, and even the higher part of the brain called the frontal cortex. So there's not a single place, but the major place is actually the nucleus accumbens, if you want to get technical.
Okay.
That's where a lot of the changes occur.
What's that called, the nucleus?
The nucleus accumbens.
Accumbens, okay.
Yeah, it's a very small place, but it's extraordinarily powerful. It's actually the part of the brain where you measure the importance of everything.
Okay.
And you also measure how much you don't like stuff. And it's the size of maybe so small, maybe a half the size of a marble or less. And that's where a lot of the brain changes related to addiction go on. Now, the amygdala is in constant communication with the nucleus accumbens, and it's telling it how much, it's giving it information like, oh, do you like this, don't you? The amygdala is a lot about remembering things that are good and bad, the emotional content about the good and bad things. But the nucleus accumbens is like a thermostat that's measuring the good and bad. So all of them, different parts play different parts. The big part of the brain, the frontal cortex, is also involved, and it's deciding whether you should go after it. So it's deciding, hey, should you go after that 6th drink of beer, or should you continue to watch porn, or should you have 2 slices of cake after you just ate a big meal? So it's the part that's deciding. And the interesting thing about the frontal cortex, which is right behind your forehead, is that it isn't fully developed in teens. It doesn't fully develop until about age 24 or 25. And it's the part that is deciding the consequences of action. It's the part that is really your willpower. It's the part that's the higher thinking that's really looking out for you. And it doesn't fully come online until about age 25. So this is why insurance companies take everyone that's age 25 and below and says they're in another category for driving, because you're really just not thinking about the consequences of texting and speeding and drinking while you're driving.
It's quite late.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's the other part. That's the thing about the adolescent brain, is you have an imbalance of power. The think about it part of the brain, the frontal cortex, isn't fully developed, while the reward circuit is in overdrive, saying, go for it, this is good, let's do it. So there's a real imbalance of power, and you can actually see that change as people start entering age 23, 24, 25. The reward circuit starts to calm down, and the frontal cortex, which thinks about things, the consequences, really starts to come online.
Okay. I mean, I said about that age, some people start to calm down, but I know a lot of men, and I'm no exception, tend to go a bit crazy as well. In a sexual crazy, sexual overdrive, and become quote unquote fucking stupid.
Well, that's true. So you still have a reward circuit that's really quite powered. And here's the interesting thing: is testosterone ups dopamine. Testosterone really affects dopamine. So when guys say, "Oh, I'm really horny because I have high testosterone," well, guess what? The testosterone is acting to make you horny or aggressive through activating dopamine in the reward circuit.
Right.
So there's the deal. Yes, guys have much higher testosterone, and that also really makes their dopamine much more activated. I'll just make it simple. Really gets the dopamine going, especially for sexual things.
Okay. So, I mean, as men, we do, as you say, have a higher level of testosterone, but women also, they get very horny and also have a high sex drive. What causes that?
Well, it's also testosterone, but it's also dopamine. The sex drive is really dopamine. So estrogen and progesterone, I think mainly estrogen, affects dopamine also. So, it's very complex and it's yet to be figured out all the steps, but all the sex hormones do act on the reward circuit. And so yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, because
it's complex.
These sex hormones are the gonads.
Yeah, so the testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, both sexes have both.
Yeah.
But in varying amounts.
Yeah. And we secrete these hormones from obviously the gonads, the women being the ovaries and the men being the testicles. Is that right?
Well, that's right, but it's more than that. As science has moved on, we secrete these hormones also from our adrenal glands, and sometimes cells locally, like cells around the penis, can secrete them to neighboring cells to make maybe more blood flow. So they're finding that even the brain can release sex hormones. So the more they find out, the less they know as to where things are really originating. In other words, where are the control centers for sex hormones? Where are the control centers for libido and sex drive? It gets very complex as we find more and more cells and parts of the body involved with all this.
Before you go, because we have to finish around 9 o'clock, you talk about also in your videos about the Coolidge effect.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that as well, please, Gary?
Yeah, well, the Coolidge effect is a scientific term that is talking about how males primarily want to have more sexual novelty. So the example is you take a male rat, put him in a cage, and you drop a female in. Well, he'll go after that female, have an ejaculation, then maybe a third or fourth ejaculation, and then he won't do anymore. He's bored. Now you place a new female in the cage, and he'll get up and do it a few more times. And you take that female out and put in a new one. He'll get up and do it a few more times. Until finally he just can't get an erection, and he has to wait about 4 days just to do it.
Wow.
So this is common amongst all mammals. Now humans are a little bit different. There's about 3% of mammals that are also pair bonders. And pair bonding means that we have the ability to fall in love and bond. But still, underlying that program of falling in love is this desire for sexual novelty. And that's why internet porn is so powerful, is that it taps into that primitive mechanism of desiring to look at sexual novelty. Click, 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 click. And that's what makes internet porn unusual. So it's very enticing for men. Now for women, yes, they like sexual novelty too, but in an evolutionary sense, if you want to get real basic, women are more in search for good fathers, unconsciously, of course, unconsciously. But now if you take away all constraints, religious and social, you will find that both males and females are equally promiscuous thought. But again, that's controversial also. But the Coolidge effect is this drive for sexual novelty, and what's occurring is you're getting less and less dopamine for your current sexual partner and a bigger blast of dopamine for the new novel partner.
It's like drugs, isn't it? You need another hit or a stronger hit.
Yeah, bigger hit.
So basically, porn is addictive. We all know that sex is addictive also. But porn is addictive. So what are the symptoms of these addictions?
Well, I strongly consider internet porn addiction to not be a sex addiction. That's one of my basic premises.
Right.
Sex addiction, you think of Tiger Woods or guys fooling around. I don't know. I mean, there are sex addictions, no doubt. But internet porn, I never wanted to be in that same category because one is for real people and internet porn is for a screen. Now, what are the symptoms? Well, often guys don't know the symptoms until they give it up.
Yeah.
So it can be variable. Obviously, the symptoms are you keep using it in spite of negative consequences. That's the general thing for any addiction. Cravings, the inability to control use. But what are some of the negative symptoms that occur from overuse? I think that's what we want to talk about. And one of the ones we see most often is anxiety and social anxiety increase, lower motivation, less concentration, less ability to do schoolwork, less ability to do regular work, less attraction to real partners, sexual problems. Those are very, very common ones.
Is this in girls and boys?
Yeah, so that's the question I always get, and they say, "Well, Gary, why do you keep talking about boys?" And that's because that's all I know about. I only talk about what I know, and 99.9% of the men who visit my site and the other sites that deal with porn addiction or problems related to it are men.
Yeah.
So yes, I think women are having problems, and we're seeing a few of them, but that's what I'm in contact with.
Yeah, yeah. And it may be because I'm into yoga and tantra and all that stuff. So I think it's because that females don't lose any energy, any life force energy when it comes to having sex. Their life force energy is within their premenstrual cycle, whereas males, our life force energy is our semen, basically. So that may be the reason why we see more men come to the likes of yourself. Would you agree?
Well, I think it's more related to the sexual novelty. That guys are much more visual. They want to much more visual than women as a rule. And sexual novelty based on the Coolidge effect is just so appealing to men. We could just sit and click through pictures of nude women all day long.
Yeah,
I mean, let's admit it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah.
And so women would be, okay, I'm done, it's like, can I go shopping? No, but it's so appealing to men, whatever the reasons. I think we just need to agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's why they get addicted, and especially at age 13, my God.
Yeah.
You remember being age 13, 14, and you have a constant erection. And I just couldn't imagine being 13 and someone giving me a screen and the access to see all these naked women and all these acts. I'm sorry, I would have ended up addicted to porn. I know that.
Yeah.
So it's just so appealing to a teenage male. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, because I'm as you said that, I thought back to when I was 13, 14, and it was that time where hormones were all over the place, and you just confused about everything, really, And to be put in your face. Oof.
Oh yeah.
What affects stripping house, like these stripping joints? I was just asking, I was just thinking about these stripping joints, that are everywhere, and that they've been popping up in every city in the UK. Before we never used to have them in the cities. We'd have them in London or the big cities, but not like small cities like these or towns. But these stripping joints are turned up everywhere. And then when you watch films and so forth, you always see the men having fun in the stripping joints, and like it's a norm thing to do, it's a norm way to hang out, and and I don't know, I mean, it must be the same effects that they must be people must be addicted to these stripping joints, and then there must be the same sort of effects when watching porn as well, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
In some way, it's kind of related in a sense. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Gary?
Well, I mean, I
Just a
think it's
random
related.
thought that came to me head about the stripping joint. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, clearly someone can get addicted to going to stripping joints or going to prostitutes or, just cruising around for women. So I think that occurs. One point, of course, is you usually have to be over 18 or 21 to go to one of those. It's somewhat like internet porn in that it is novelty and you're usually drinking alcohol. I myself personally, I understand porn use. The stripping joints, it just seems so fake to me that I don't know why that's appealing to anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, is it similar? Yes, I think there are some similarities.
Mm-hmm. And also, we're in danger really with the internet porn of bestiality in porn. I mean, we got a message come through. A guy called Ras here from England. He believes that the porn world is directly bad, and there is a sickly animal human porn also. 3 men dumping on a women, and it's not going to show our children any family or godly values. What happened to love is he's asking, and the devil is the head of the porn industry. Full stop.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, guys often talk about escalating to those type of genres, whether it's bestiality or feces or rape or things I don't even know about. They just describe them. And I think it's important for people to understand that most guys or people don't start there. They escalate, and I'm using the term escalate because they need more and more stimulation. So if you could think about it like that, like a drug or anything else, it's like, oh, I'm bored with lesbian porn, now I'm going to go to double penetration. Oh, I'm bored with that. I need something more. And I think if people could realize when guys unhook, that often those cravings reverse themselves and they start getting in contact with the attraction to reality. So people can keep that in mind and not, make anyone bad like they would with any addiction. Just make it, oh, this is a natural progression for many of them who become addicted.
Yeah. It's really becoming a bottomless pit, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know how many people in the UK would seek help or even admit that they've got a problem or, even talk about it. I mean, if you've got so many men who actually watch porn by themselves, I mean, how do how do they seek help? Because I'm sure most of them realise they have a problem, and if they're in a relationship or they're looking for a girl and they're not functioning properly, then they're aware. I mean, who do they come to? Where do they start? I mean, is there like a helpline, for this addiction? I mean, I'm sure there are like sex line, like sex addiction helplines. I'm sure there is. But for this, I mean, where do people go to for help? I mean, because it's like taboo. People don't talk about watching it. People don't, warn their kids about porn. So it's kind of a grey area in a sense. So where do these people go for help when they recognise that they've got a problem? And
I think it's very rare for men to go seek help. And that really is disguising perhaps the extent of the problem. And I'm in contact with all these different forums where primarily guys are giving up porn. So the majority of them go to forums where other guys are doing it and get their help there, or they just do it on their own. And if you think about it, most people who are addicted to anything actually do it on their own, whether it's cigarettes or even alcohol. Most people do not seek out clinics or therapists. And here in the United States, where we don't have any health insurance that's free, don't get me started on that, is you're much less likely to seek out help because you have to pay for it out of pocket usually.
Right.
So I think it's rare for people to seek professional help.
But I mean, the information is out there, and if you do come across information, and it's whether they take notice of that, and take heed and advice and act upon it, But then there are some who are being ignorant to the whole fact that there are to the whole thing, that there is no harm me watching this, and
most importantly, they don't know this generation, as young as in their 20s, believe this is the norm. The norm is everyday use of porn or several times a week, and it's just normal. So they're not going to stop. There's no reason to stop. And if you don't stop, you don't know how it's affecting you. And that's the big circular mess we have now. On top of that, we have not only the media, but more importantly, the academic sex researchers are telling you there's nothing wrong, no matter how much porn you use, whether it's all day long. If you have a problem, and this is the key point, if you have any problem, it's something else. It's not the porn. You can't be addicted to porn. Porn can't cause problems. So this is what you're fed by the experts in the media. So anyone who suggests otherwise is either moralizing or religious or something. This is the schism that has occurred.
And that's why I myself, and we run this campaign, if you can see it above our heads, Sexual and Consumer Exploitation in Mainstream Music and Media, SCEM, where we go deep into the subject of the root of sex, the root of sex addiction in today's society, especially the sexualization of children in the media, and who is actually in control of the media. And it's important that we do teach the children and parents the role of the media and who is in control of the media. I think that's very, very important. And it will help, hopefully, in allowing people to, become aware.
It's a forewarning, isn't it? Really, I mean, if your guardians told you the truth about the whole, the media, the exploitation, how they use sex, how they sell things, it's up to the parents to make the change, not no one else, or your peers or your guardians and so forth. And that's what needs to change. For some reason, we've lost that. So there's no direction, and then all kinds of things can happen because the doors are open to harm, basically, of that child, or where do we go from here, Gary? Because what are your plans? I mean, where are you going to go with all of this? And when did you do this talk in Scotland? Is that right? You came to Scotland, is that right, Gary?
I did come to Scotland. It was about this time it was about March. The TED talk. I did the TEDx talk. Right. And I'm going to do a presentation at Goodenough College in London. But I'm not really going anywhere with it. My job is to be a clearinghouse of information, and since I'm a teacher, it's to also bring in the science behind it so that both lay people, therapists, anyone who wants to use it can get a clear bit of the science to back up what we believe. And the science is really clear, but the people who study sex already have their agenda, and the people who study addiction know this can occur, but they don't get into the sex realm. So they're completely separate entities in the research realm and the education realm.
So you need sort of an intervention, don't you, before, like, I don't know, where you have people go to schools and have talks and warn you about drugs and so forth, to a certain age group. And maybe, there should be like a setup of that, going around to, our schools and talking to the lads and the girls, but of a certain age group, and talking about this,
Yeah, they really need to learn about their limbic system, about the reward circuits, and done in an interesting way and a non-judgmental way, and that would be a nice basis. But to tell you the truth, I don't have the answer. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and what's probably going to happen is it's going to get so bad that it'll become so obvious.
But you are the intervention. You're talking to us, and we're hearing you, and we can take this further. An intervention before the kid actually sees it, or there's
teaching the parents.
Just going, so we can take what we've been learning from you, Gary. We can take that forward. We can,
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I hope people take my material and do what they want with it.
Yes. And I think people, in the UK and between the lads, they need to talk about it. Apart from many other things, they need to nip this one in the bud.
Yeah. But I mean, I've got a meeting this week, and I'll be going into a lot of the youth centres to talk about the sexualisation of children. So if Gary doesn't mind, I'd like to introduce some of his stuff, some of his work.
There you go.
And,
that's why I put it out there, is for people to use it.
Because
thank you.
Because we know that a lot of the children are into science nowadays, aren't they? So it will be a good catch for them, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're 6th grade, 7th grade, they do okay with the TED Talk. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then we actually produced our first production with a guy from England reading it, was Things You Don't Know About Porn, which is for 10 and 11-year-olds. So that's on my site also.
Okay.
It's a video.
Yeah. Awesome.
The children are quite impressionable, and pretty hip and trendy, and they will take note of what you have to say. And some of them haven't actually seen stuff like this, and maybe some of them have. But intervention is a good one, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, as we've said already on the show, there won't be teaching children the correct way to go about sex. I mean, I'm not sure if you've read the book by Mantak Chia, Cultivating Male Sexual Energy.
Know it very well. Read it back in 1987.
Okay, brilliant. I think that's a brilliant book, and it's a must really for the real sexual revolution to take place, to control that sexual energy and turn it into creative energy.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what started my wife on this project too, and we wrote a book that incorporated some of that material.
That's great, yeah. And do you want to share your book with the audience?
Well, I'd rather not, because it's separate from porn, so we'll just keep it separate.
Okay, but I did share it at the top of the show in a way. It was the Cupid's poisoned arrow, wasn't it?
You did, okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So, I mean, if anybody wants to learn about any of your material, can you please share with them where they can get your material from? Once again, please, Gary.
Yes.
Well, if you're looking for material associated with internet porn, the name of the site is yourbrainonporn.com. So that's it's all there. There's no advertising. It's all free. Just come and look in it and learn what you want to.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Gary, for coming on the show.
You bet.
We'd like to have you on again very soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll have an update.
Yeah, we'll have an update, definitely. And I'll be in touch, because, as I said, I'll be going into the youth centres very soon and sharing with them some of your work. So I'll be in touch, and we can discuss how we can really use that, so we can really help the youth.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great talking to you guys.
And you
Thank
too.
you, Gary. Speak to you soon.
You have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay,
bye-bye. Wow.
Awesome. Yes.
Wow, that went fast, didn't it? I mean, such a big subject.
2 minute brother.
Yeah. Repeat. Next picture.
Well, that's the rat. The rat in the
What
cage.
did I mention? A broom or
Coolies
something?
effect.
Sorry, okay, we're going through the end.
Oh dear.
But,
Let's not bring them out, eh?
Oh no.
Your imagination serves you well, Lena.
You'd have to watch Sopranos, I think.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
And you're going to do your rounds at the youth centres and talking about the subject. That's great. So you see, there's intervention, and that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. More people need to be.
Not waiting for no one. Come on, everyone. Just tell everyone and speak to everyone. And
get get knowledge up.
Yeah, I mean, even if people don't want to confess, just bring it up in subject and talk about it, and then the word will get out and people stop. And because obviously people want to function properly within a relationship, and if they're responsible, sensible, understanding enough, they will know what the problem is, and they will stop watching the porn because it's absolutely messing them up. And it's like drugs. Don't tell someone to watch porn. I mean, what's all that about? Yeah. Oh, your relationship ain't well watch this. I mean, hello. I don't understand that, but don't advise people to watch it.
Simple.
Because it ain't going to fix nothing. It's going to just be more of a hindrance and more of a problem.
You do have to figure out a plan to really get this out there, really.
I'd like to know what the statistics are and how many people are watching it. And you won't know unless you actually went out there and chatted to people.
Yeah. I mean, there are statistics being done by different organisations. I know that roadrace.net, even the BBC, and
you see, I don't trust certain statistics. I mean, I'd rather go to 10 people and get my own statistics. And you got, do you know what I mean? I don't go through all of that because I don't trust them. I mean, they're the ones who put it out the most, don't they? I mean, look at it. I mean, the BBC with all their programmes and everything, and even on the website, they can't stop mentioning sex or pornography or porn people or, oh, look, she's showing a nipple or something. I mean, always something about sex on the BBC. It's non-stop on sport.
The sex addicts.
BBC, Sky, all of them, they're all the same entity. The Dark Machine, the War Machine, whatever.
Yeah. And there was some statistics what came out, and I can't remember from what source it was, saying that 67% of men and women were for porn, apparently.
Come on, come on. Who see these statistics on? I don't believe any of that though. Okay, let's go and do a survey. I don't believe in all these statistics that these lot come up with.
Yeah. However, you could say that 67%.
I'd like to know which woman has got time for watching it.
It could be a true reflection for what we do see out there, for what is really going on. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'd like to go out there and find out myself, actually. I want to be shocked.
And that's part
I don't want to be shocked, I want to know that these statistics are wrong in the UK. I'm not one bit surprised that they were like that in America, because they've been objected to it, and I don't know. They've had a rougher time about it.
We're not far behind though.
No, we're not now. You're saying that. I'm just gobsmacked.
No, we're not far behind at all. Do you know what I mean?
Gobsmacked.
It's been, and we're quite conservative here in the UK, granted, in comparison to the Americans. But it's happening and it's fast
and they're all in it.
But it's all part of the American dream, and even Brits are trying to
that's
live
the dream. What dream is that? I don't get it. I don't like that word. I mean, what dream? It's not a dream, that's hell. Being confined to the bed and sex and masturbating all your life when there's a whole world to get on with, it's quite sad, you know?
Here's that stats anyway. 67% of young men and 49% of young women say viewing porn is an acceptable way to express one's sexuality. So, I mean, you can tell how uneducated we are about sex in general. Do you know what I mean? Coming from our native backgrounds, we had a natural way of looking at sex, whether it be through tantra or any other methods which was natural than
so it's more touchy-feely looking, real their sense and all the rest of it. But that's normal, isn't it? I mean, but looking at something out of the screen where there's no involvement and you're detached, and then it, like he says, it affects you before 25, being exposed to all that bullshit. But God knows what I mean. Watching TV full stop, what does that do to you? So, we know this now, so it's like, whether it be porn or, when he said you're affected by a lot of things, and before that 25 age mark he was saying, I mean, come on, if you know that, what we're doing? Sort our house out, our children out, our family out, you know.
But many people don't know it, in all fairness, you know, because they're following mainstream media, and this is the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we could have this sort of viewers which whatever's on TV is having now, the likes of Britain's Got Talent or Big Brother, whatever's on, do you know what I mean? That way we can get the message across, but they're not going to talk about this sort of stuff on them sort of programs, are they?
No, of course not. I mean? No, because it's not going.
And when they do talk about this sort of stuff on the likes of Panorama or Viewpoint or whatever documentaries they have, not many people are tuned into that. They're tuned into the likes of Britain's Got Talent or some reality TV show which has got more drama and more entertaining for them. Do you know what I mean?
Sex, drugs and violence.
This is the problem. This is the challenge that we face as human beings, especially here in the West. I mean, it's modern.
We're not giving any options. If people do,
well, the options are there. The options are there. Is that people are too lazy to look for the options, aren't they? Yeah. They're not aware of the options. You know, we look for them because we find out because we had a feeling that something wasn't right.
Something stopping someone. What is that? And it's that endorphin thing. That's that rush thing, isn't it? The drug rush. That's stopping them. I should be watching this. I should move on. You know, I should go to Channel 2 or something else. I don't know. This is drug, sex, and violence, but I can't. I'm just glued to it. I'm watching it. You know. And then someone ring up and you say, well, what are you watching? And you tell them. Yeah. They're like, what channel? But then they'll be drawn to it as well. And they're moving. So what's going on here? Yeah. I don't know.
Called being brainwashed. Mind control, social conditioning.
And that's not even at a certain age. I mean, that's at
all ages.
All ages. I mean, you know, you think you're not unprogrammable at 40 gone. I'm telling you are, you know.
Probably even more programmed.
Kind of different. If people don't really think they've lived in their 20s because they've had babies and that, well, they go ballistic in their 40s.
And everybody's programmed in a different way as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because we are all wired differently also, aren't we? So
I suppose it's not just watching the internet, it's just magazines either. If you're Asian, it'd be Bollywood, Hollywood, or there's other ways they get to you.
Education system, food.
Yeah, I mean, it happens from when you're a child, isn't you know, all this onslaught.
Yeah.
And then, you know, school. Why send your kids to school as well? So teach them how can you trust them to have your kids? That's all I can say.
Yeah. And we'll get someone to talk about the schooling system as well very soon, because that's another interesting
prevention and you know, because they want our kids to learn it. Well, I mean, sex and education is different, but this porn thing, putting even the word in the child's head, it's just giving me nightmares. I mean, oh my God, you know, they can't even get the grasp of sex, but then all of a sudden the teacher comes out with, well, kids, today is porn, and we'll cover everything that happens underneath it. You're like, what?
Yeah. It's not good, is it?
Oh, what have you made today, child? Well, we made something in pornography class, and it's called, I don't know, something to do.
A baby.
Well, no, using implements like a plunger or something. The teacher comes out with all these implements because the kids should ought to know what these implements are that they've been using in all these porn sites. You know, it's horrific. They don't need to know all of that.
Nope. That's all.
It's horrific as you get older, you know, if you've not been exposed to it and you go and, you know, you start learning, you think, you know, it's a bit of a shock then, you know. So I don't know what it does to the children, but I don't agree with it. That's just me. I don't know what you all think.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll go to one more tune, then we'll come back and we'll say ciao.
Yes.
The fires that really devastated this community happened between late 1997 and 1999. In that period of time, they probably had at least 500 or 600 fires down here, and I lived through that. When there was a fire, I would make one call, and it would ring all the way around the community. Is it you? Are you all right? Whatever, and then it would come back to my house. We had one of the most beautiful communities when I moved here that you can imagine.
Condos were out on my old turf. For what it's worth, soul got left in the earth. On a search, I stood in front of Compton where the Hudson builder spoke first and said, I was here. Old bricks all over downtown, the Sears with the robotic attachment. Purple gang used to move to get blocked like a mafia pageant. Move around in my town with spitters talk. And if you leave, forget us and try to come back, I hope you turn into a pill of assault. A-Jack came and cracking the concrete. That's a lost and forgotten piece of the deep. We'll never see in the book of paper replaced with a 10th casino, strip mall, liquor store. We'll never another stadium, doubling as a palladium. Eateries, speaks to me. I watched yesterday get swept away beneath a pile of debris. Committees picking from a lottery for the hottest riverfront property. Sound over your D, shocking to see us go from people mover to people mover. Let the people choose a better way. They set up shop, it's better way. Landmarks come and go, like a John with a pro. Let it straight, and they run up on the traffic consumption. So I look back, see my city under construction. I look back, see my city under construction.
Bomb is suffocating my city, you tryna ravaging the crops, making the situation. We staying, never let the locusts approach us. Locusts and buzzers circle and hover above the abandoned houses, shattered windows with the crooked shutter. Cross the street, construct a cookie cutter condominium. Line of wood, but it's the prime meridian. You divide the city, and in the hood, wonder why you pay 2 times the premium. They've been redlining the dark skin. Owners of homes where they loan with a shark's fin. Arson of property, probably for their insurance policy. It's a prophecy that's self-fulfilling. They claim to cure us of poverty, but it's serving removal of residents for urban renewal. The reverend is the realtor, here to save and heal ya. They even buy ugly houses, and it's memorabilia of a myth of a city that's a mystery. Auto industry's widow. On the auction floor, they start to bid low on houses with hanging gutters and peeling shingles. Purchased at a nervous pace and a cadence. I heard a wrecking ball hit a building that's mistaken for vacant. A sleeping city awakened by bulldozers, and the wool pulled over our eyes. It comes as no surprise. Why to rent some more? From the French to Ford to the Illiches, trying to pillage a village and milk it for all that it's worth. While they killing us, but we still got resilience against the locusts.
Rather suffocate my city and try to ravaging the crop, making the situation hopeless. We staying focused. Never let the locusts approach us. Never let the locusts approach us. The locusts approach us.
Right, that was Invincible featuring Finale and Locust. And yeah, we'd like to thank Gary Wilson for coming on the show this evening. You can contact him and read his stuff, his material on www.yourbrainonporn.com. And I want to share our links also. Skem.com, SCEMM.com. The YouTube pages, you can get recording from our shows and previous shows. Skidan for real, SKIDAN 4 number REAL real, and also Innervibe Show, INNERVIBESHOW, Innervibe Show.
Innervibe.
And I'd like to thank all the listeners this evening for tuning in.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, Angel
Thank
Hart,
you for having me today.
Technical Man, and myself with the Haroon, and big up to all those out there, MC Justice, Rosalind Blue and crew, yeah?
Yes, Mr. Rosalind Blue.
Yeah. Right, okay, we're gonna close off this evening, and as I said, thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the other side.
You know,
Yo, back with that new to tell you where I come from. Sing a song so I could never be unsung. They think I'm on some being fair weather. It's just my unsum. But don't care whether you shake your tail feathers or your pom poms. Razor sharp, nigga, bong bong. It's a bad time to be an MC if you ain't rhyming right. I spit that China white, nigga, call it Hong Kong. Hit the city to see one of my schoolmates making 6 figures, but she still got a roommate just to have a downtown apartment and some outfits. And you asking why I never leave the South? Shit. Take some time to dream. Peace of mind's a delightful thing. This is the life of kings.
And we got it.
Yes, sir. Hey.
Yo, people be confused how I move with the utmost respect, and yet I get my due. And true, I got nothing to prove, could be my new objective, but let's not object to truth. On days like these, I count my blessings and say my dreams out loud when I wake up. The voice up inside of my head telling Ev, let's get on the day and out of this bed. Kiss my mother, gave my daughter a pound. Then she hugged me, then she turned around. In my time, the life of a king is undefinable. The closest we might get is pressed up to the vinyl though. Shit, take some time to dream. Peace of mind's a delightful thing. This is the life of kings.
Gigolo, Big Chris. Now some consider me a tyrant, cause I'd rather push areas dodging them sirens. Trunk beating like violence, searching for me a vibrant thing. More concerned with what books I read than what side I claim. Got a vision to be veteran, with a future brighter than a writer deciphering light by Thomas Edison. Plus you remind me of a derelict, relishing no relishments. Too busy throwing rocks at my throne to find a cheddar sip. I'm the type of king you probably see Coretta with. Country bred, country raised and intelligent. Rosebud lifestyle and yours is peddlers. The hand of God and mine you shouldn't meddle with. My reign's benevolent. Ever since I fell out the womb I was destined to conquer melodies. So take some time to dream. Peace of mind's a delightful thing. This is the life of kings.
Big Crit. EV.
This is the life of kings.
And new tickle. This is the life of kings. Feel good. Good like oxtails from Lee's Kitchen, nigga. Yeah.
Hey, yo, lesson here, baby. You come at the king, you best not miss.